Stephanie, and it's 8 o'clock, so we're gonna get started. I'm currently by myself, so we'll see how this goes. If you have questions, feel free to comment, and I will do my best to read them. Hopefully I'm loud enough. It's echoey in this nice kitchen that I'm in. So I just want to start by going over some Instant Pot basics. I'm actually going to move this a little closer. Alright, we're going to plug it. So I have two here that are more or less the same, but this is an Instant Pot, which is a brand name for an electric pressure cooker. The really awesome thing about an electric pressure cooker is it won't explode. You cannot overheat it or have it like over pressurize because it's all electronic and it controls its own heating and all that. So no lids in the ceiling, exploded kitchens. This is the Duo 7-in-1 6-quart, which I believe this is also the same. There's also the 6-quart 6-in-1. So the 7-in-1 has a yogurt button. The 6-in-1, the top looks a little bit different, but essentially it all works the same. Components of your Instant Pot. There's a pot. There's a lid. You have an inner pot, which is what you cook in. You have a trivet, which can come in handy. And then mine, the electrical cord detaches, which is kind of nice. I store it all up on the shelf. Hello, come on in.
The only one?
You are the only one.
Okay, I'll go home and watch it online.
No, come hang out with me. I'm talking to myself in my video. My friend just showed up. Anyhow, so Carissa's has the cord. It doesn't detach. That's okay, no, you're good. I just went over the components of an Instant Pot. So, a couple of things that can be tricky, because you have to like get the lid on right, or it doesn't work, right? So there's this nifty little thing on the front that says open and close, and there's an arrow here. I don't know how you can see it on the video. Look at your pot at home. And then there's an arrow here, so you line up these arrows and rotate, and then it locks. Welcome, Natalie! Hi. I'm going over the basics here of the Instant Pot. Okay, other key feature. This is the most important part, is this bit on the top. It comes off even. And there's a little metal pin right there next to it. So, it says venting and it says sealing. And if your lid doesn't look exactly like this, I'll talk to you now instead of myself in the video. Same idea. So, venting, it's just here. Sealing, it's just here. Even when you have it turned to sealing when you're cooking, it doesn't lock in place until it comes to pressure. Which seems weird because it's all, you're like, well, it's not even doing anything. Really it is. So, as it's here, and I'll show you once we get it going, the metal pin comes up, and then once it's to pressure, this won't move at all. So, also, if it comes to pressure, it might make noise and stuff. Oh, other part. So there's a gasket inside your lid, which separately from the lid. I've heard there are people that they buy they have a savory one and a sweet one. I haven't ever noticed a difference. Like, I'll cook curry in this and the next day make yogurt, and my yogurt's fine. Like, sometimes it smells like curry or chicken broth, but my yogurt doesn't taste like curry or chicken broth, so I wouldn't worry about it. Unless you want to buy one. Your prerogative. But. So, that is one thing to note. So, sometimes it will still smell like the thing you cooked the day before, but it doesn't affect what you're cooking. Let's see what else. Oh, I can plug it in and turn it on. Oh, also the handle holds the lid. So there's just spots in the handle. Woo. So the lid just kerplops. this one. So they also come with this little doohickey in the bag, which is to catch any liquid that might accumulate as it's releasing sometimes. They also typically come with a rice cup, and it's not actually like a cup, like an 8-ounce unit measurement. It's just when you're cooking rice, it's like one of those, no, 2 of those to 1 of rice. So it's not actually 8 ounces, but they just call it a cup. Anyway. Okay, so it will always say, mine anyway, always says off when it's plugged in. The button I use the most is the manual button. You plus, minus to adjust your time. Off. It also functions as a slow cooker, I found. And you can adjust how hot it gets. So I actually did some beef recently, so you just push the adjust button. And realized that I probably should have adjusted it up to more. I think it was at normal, and it took forever on slow cooker mode, but anyhow. The rest of these buttons are more about, it doesn't, like you can adjust the time on any of these. And so it's more about like the pressure setting than the timing setting. So like rice, it's gonna cook at a lower pressure than it's gonna cook your soup. See how that changes? Multigrains, porridge, I've never made porridge. Steaming, I really haven't used that function either. Yogurt is my favorite function, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway. You can also delay it, but that's not a basic, so we're not talking about that today. Okay. Any questions thus far? No. Okay, we are going to hard-boiled eggs. Now, you may say to yourself, why in the world would I go to the trouble to cook eggs in my Instant Pot, right? I can do it on the stove in my pot. The reason you do it in your Instant Pot is because they literally slip out of the shell. It's the most amazing thing in the entire world. So, you put a cup of water in the bottom of your Instant Pot. Oh. You also want your trivet in there, or you can buy, they sell like steamer baskets and stuff you can put in them. I haven't bought any accessories because I haven't eaten them. But you don't want it sitting on the bottom of the Instant Pot. You can do up to a whole dozen eggs at a time. The timing doesn't change. You can do fresh eggs. My mom has done like a dozen of fresh eggs at a time and they still peel really nicely, which is not true if you boil them. So I only have 3 eggs today. So we're going to stick those in. We're going to put the lid on. So we are going to manual for 3 minutes. So then we turn this to steaming. No, sealing is what it says. So it's going to say on, and then it's going to work at coming to pressure. Once it comes to pressure, it will start, it'll have your time on here, and it will count down until it's done.
So how do you know that you need to do it for 3 minutes?
So I have a recipe online that I found, but I just know in my brain. So it's interesting with hard-boiled eggs because there's like this 5-5-5 method or this 3-2-1 method or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, the point of doing it in your Instant Pot is to not have to watch it like a hawk, right? Because that's how you have to do it on the stove. Like the minute it's boiling, you got to turn it off or blah, 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 whatever. So with this method, you cook them for 3 minutes, and then you let it natural release, which I'll explain in a minute, for 15 minutes, and then you dump them in an ice bath. So I should mention, so there's natural release and there's quick release, or 2 terms you'll always see with an Instant Pot or a pressure cooker. Natural release is where you just let it go. You don't turn it. You just let it slowly come down, usually about 10 or 15 minutes, then you can pop it open and go on with your day. Quick release is you flip this to venting and it goes all over the place, and within just a couple of minutes you can open it. You typically want a quick release because you want to stop the cooking. So if you're doing something like pasta, which we're going to do mac and cheese here in a minute, you don't want the pasta to keep cooking forever. If you're doing something with a lot of liquid like soup, you want to give it at least 5 minutes before you flip it, or you're going to end up spraying like liquid all over your kitchen. So meat does better, it's more tender if you let it naturally release. If you quick release it, it tends to seize up a little bit. So we're just going to let this sit here for a minute. I didn't get my disclaimer. my disclaimer. Not everything is faster in an Instant Pot. I always tell them, like, not everything is faster. Like, I don't think it's necessarily faster to do hard-boiled eggs in an Instant Pot. But it's easier, and they peel way better, so if you're making deviled eggs, this is the way to go. Alright, we're gonna let that go for a minute. It takes a few minutes. Alright, so we're gonna use Chris's.
Can I ask you a question?
Please do.
What size is this?
This is the 6-quart.
Okay.
So it's my understanding that there's the 6-quart, there's an 8-quart, and there's a 3-quart. My sister-in-law has an 8-quart, it's massive, and she says it takes forever to get hot and to come to pressure, and then it takes forever to come back down because there's so much liquid in there. But you can cook a lot more. So, what else was I gonna say? Oh, you always need at least a cup of liquid in order for it to come to pressure. That can be sauce, that can be water. I guess those are most of your options, sauce or water. Marinade, salsa, barbecue sauce, whatever it is, spaghetti sauce, but you need at least a cup of liquid. If it's taking forever, and it won't come to pressure, it may be that you just don't have enough liquid to create the steam for it to come to pressure.
I tried to do beans right after I got mine, which is just a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And it said to put a cup of water in, and then they were supposed to be done, and I opened them up, and the beans weren't done yet, and they were stuck to the bottom.
Were you cooking dry beans?
Mm-hmm.
And you only, how many beans?
But I read that, I think, 2 cups of beans.
And a cup of water?
Mm-hmm.
That seems low.
Yeah. So when I do dry beans, I like submerge significantly.
Really?
Yeah. You need to, because they've got to absorb the water.
Well, that's what I thought. I was like, does the steam do it or something? I'm like, that just doesn't make
No,
sense.
yeah. So I have a refried bean recipe I use, and I'll do 3 cups of beans and probably like 7 or 8 cups of water, and then I cook them for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But again, you can take dry beans to cooked in
In an hour.
an hour.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
that's the, and you don't have to soak them. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but if you think about it. But
I
that-
glanced them, but I didn't soak them.
yeah, no, and you shouldn't have to. You just didn't have enough water.
Yeah.
Oh, it's making noise. That's good. So the other tricky thing sometimes with Instant Pot recipes that I find annoying is they'll be like, oh, it cooks in 5 minutes. Okay, it may cook in 5 minutes, like your cook time. Like, oh, we can say hard-boiled eggs cook time's 3 minutes. They're not done in 3 minutes.
Right.
Like, it's got to come to pressure, it's got to cook, and then it's got to come down. Like, so I usually say you got to figure at least like cook time times 2 for like total time.
Yeah.
So like I say, not everything is faster. However, macaroni and cheese is. So, this is my favorite recipe. I probably make it at least like a couple times a month. This is how I use. So, this is also a recipe I just have memorized because I make it all the time. So we need 4 cups of water. Oh, my other trick, I should tell you. So the saute button, saute, just like turns the burner on and just gets it hot. So sometimes, like I made lentil soup for dinner tonight, and I actually like saute veggies and stuff in there before I put everything else in, which is nice because you're not
So
like,
you treat it like a pan?
you can treat it like a pan.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can cook stuff in it, and then add your other stuff. The other thing, something like this, is you can start heating it while you're getting your other stuff ready, so that it takes that much less time to come to pressure.
So when you saute your vegetables, do you actually put just a little bit of coconut oil or olive oil or whatever you use in there, and
Yep.
you put it on saute? Do you close it and put the lid on and the
No,
steam
I
and
just
everything?
leave it open and
You just
pretend
do it
it's
like
like
that.
a pot on the stove.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
It will. You
It's only
can't.
one pot, then.
You can't control the heat,
Mm.
and it gets hot, and it gets hot fast, which can be good. But sometimes it will just say hot, like turn me off, I'm too hot. But okay, so we have 4 cups of water. We have 2 teaspoons of salt. I forgot the salt one time. It was terrible.
Really? Made that much difference?
Yeah.
Did you put it in afterwards and it still wasn't?
We did, but it's not the same as when,
You put it in.
yeah. 3 tablespoons of butter. If I'm at home, I usually cut it up just because I like to. It doesn't matter, but I'm not. So, and then this is real life cooking, right?
Yep.
Pound of macaroni. You dump all that in the pot. Give it a stir. Again, my butter's just in a lump. I got noodles, salt. You're gonna put the lid on. The lid makes noises at you. So you're gonna turn it to sealing. And I'm gonna rinse off Carissa's lid. Okay. Okay, so now in order to get it to do anything, like it's not gonna change settings, so turn it off, then manual, we're gonna go 4 minutes. Okay, so see this, we're counting down, so we're gonna set that over. Okay, oh, no, don't do that. Okay. Beeping everywhere, goodness sakes. Okay, so this is now going to count up, and this is like, it's in warm mode, it's on low, and it's just gonna tell you that how long it's been in warm mode. So, we're
By
gonna do,
itself?
yeah, it just stays warm.
So it doesn't turn off?
No, it
Unless you
doesn't
tell
turn
it to
off. It doesn't turn off until you tell it to turn off.
Okay.
So we're gonna let this count up to 15. And then this, we're gonna wait till it comes pressure. So see the, oh, you can't see, but the silver pin is up. This is still unsealing and you can't move the lid. Like, it is stuck. You can't open it. Nope. This one is still open.
It's not sealed yet?
Because it's not sealed yet.
Pressure
Yep, no. So it doesn't, once it comes to pressure, it will start your countdown. But it won't until it's all hot. So.
So have you done like roast and things like that in it?
I have. I don't do those as often, but yeah.
Yeah. And it turns out,
Mm-hmm.
okay, it doesn't get tough or anything.
So like I say, it's better if you let it do like a natural release.
Yeah.
We did the shredded beef stuff for tacos with my sister-in-law over Thanksgiving, and we had about 2-inch chunks of beef, like a whole bunch of it in the marinade and everything, and I think we cooked those for like 40 minutes, and it would just like fall apart. Oh man, it was so good.
Okay.
So, but yeah, you can do frozen chicken breasts as long as they're like normal sized chicken breasts.
So do you leave that little trivet thing in there when you cook most things, or just?
No.
sometimes? It's like
I use the
frozen
trivet when you're doing eggs. You can cook whole sweet potatoes. You just scrub them, throw them in. I put those on the trivet. You can do whole squash, as long as it'll fit in your spot. You can cook spaghetti squash. Cook time is like 5 minutes for a spaghetti squash. You just stick the whole thing in there, and then it just like peels away from its skin when it's done. I just did the sugar pie pumpkins to do pumpkin pie a couple weeks ago. You just stick the whole thing in there. So stuff like that I put up on the trivet.
Okay, but not your frozen chicken breast.
No, chicken I wouldn't know, because it doesn't necessarily, because you're cooking it in the liquid as opposed to like the sweet potatoes and squash, you're more like steaming them.
Right, so it doesn't stick on the bottom of your pot?
No.
Okay, because I still have marks from my beans on the bottom.
Oh, well, I think your beans like scorched to the bottom of your pot probably.
Yeah. I think, yeah, they did. The funny thing was they weren't overdone. They were fine. I just added more water and turned them back on and they were fine. But when I dumped them out of the pot, I was like, oh, the bottom of the pot has bean spots.
Yeah.
So I put it back in the box for a month before I took it.
Well, that's neat, it didn't burn it.
I know.
That was
It will sometimes say burn, like if you don't have enough liquid in there and like bad things are happening, it will tell you. Like, it will say burn. I haven't had that, but I've like seen, or yeah, it will. part of some groups on Facebook. They're
That's
like,
because Stephanie does it the right way.
That's right. Yeah, Stephanie puts them in that flat. Yeah.
I love that it counts up.
Yeah.
So you know how long it's been.
Mhm. So like I made soup for dinner tonight. I did a lentil soup, and it was done because it only cooks for like 3 minutes or whatever. And it sat in there staying warm for like an hour until we actually ate dinner.
And it wasn't overdone or anything?
No, because it had come down to pressure, and you just leave the lid on it, and it just stays warm. So I had added ham to it after, so I just like stirred my cold ham into it and let it sit there, and it was fine.
Oh, okay.
So here's a question for
Yeah.
you. I see that like in that one you're making your pasta, but let's say you're making like a chicken noodle soup.
I actually did turkey noodle soup the other day.
Okay, so was your turkey probably pre-cooked before you put it in?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I did my turkey noodle soup, I had broth and the veggies and like cooked that, and then once it was done, then I stirred in the turkey and the noodles, and I was actually going to let it cook for like 2 more minutes, but then this is the one obnoxious thing sometimes, like this is all honesty, I love my Instant Pot, but like it's got to come down, and then you got to open it, and you got to put the noodles in, and you got to let it come back up, and sometimes it just takes so long. I'm like, this would have been faster on the stove. Maybe not, but I was feeling annoyed at the moment. But I don't even think I actually let it cook. It was like coming up to pressure, and I was like, that's it, I'm done. And I just let it come back down to pressure and opened it, and it was fine.
So you do it in stages because the cook time might be different, like for vegetables versus pasta.
Right.
Is that why?
Yeah. So I mean, your carrots and your celery are gonna need like several minutes to cook. Pasta in an Instant Pot takes like no time at all.
So if let's say that like rice, if rice happens to be similar to vegetable cook time, can you throw the rice in with it at the same time and
Sure.
hit go and see how it does?
Yeah.
I have a good recipe that goes in, but
Yeah. I mean, if you do it all in one in your pot on the stove, then I say go for it. Because like when you're making chicken noodle soup on the stove, I'd assume that you put your noodles in last after your other stuff has had time to cook.
Okay. But yeah, with the other one, I throw it in at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Sometimes if I'm cooking something and maybe I'm not following a recipe per se, but I'm like, I don't really know how long to cook that for, then you just like Google it and you find maybe a recipe that's similar to what you're doing, and I just like find the time. I'm like, hey, well, how long are you cooking it for?
Okay.
Like, I don't necessarily need your recipe, I just need to know how long you're cooking it.
And on what setting, maybe?
Yeah. So I would say I cook most things on my manual setting. Sometimes if I'm doing soup, I'll do soup. I don't cook a lot of meat in my Instant Pot. I don't know, my favorite thing that I do like weekly is yogurt.
Yeah, I make yogurt too, but I've never done it in there.
It's so easy.
And cheese, I bet I could make my cheese in there.
Sure, I've never made cheese.
You make
Cheese
cheese?
is so easy, yes.
So yogurt,
That's cool. Thanks.
you put your milk in,
It's easy.
you hit the yogurt button and you hit adjust till it says boil, and it will come up to temperature. You just let it do its thing. It takes like 45 minutes. If you stir it, it might come faster, but I don't have time for that. I got stuff to do. And then
So wait, start over with the yogurt thing.
I'll do a whole video where I make yogurt, but
Okay.
yogurt, adjust, it comes to boil. Anyway, you heat it, and then I put it in a sink, like an ice bath, and like cool it down with my thermometer out, cool it down or whatever. And then you add in your starter, which is like a tablespoon per half gallon of milk. And then you put it back in your pot and get your yogurt, blah, 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 and then it for 8 hours, and you just let it sit there for 8 hours. You take your pot out, you cover it, you let it cool overnight. I always time mine so then it will cool overnight, because you're not supposed to disturb it.
Right.
And then you're done.
Wow.
You don't lose any volume. You have as much yogurt as you started with, whatever amount of milk you started with.
Okay, so does the milk, I've never made it, does the milk separate?
Mm-mm.
No?
So I intentionally then strain mine because I like super thick yogurt.
Okay.
So I'll put like cheesecloth in a strainer and put it over a bowl and let it sit for several hours because I like super thick yogurt.
Okay, and then it'll.
And then you separate the whey, but it
And
doesn't
what do you
do
with the whey?
I
dump it?
I dump it down the drain
Yeah, whey is
'Cause I'm-
super good for you.
because
Really
I'm
good.
wasteful.
Oh,
So,
okay.
But
I put it in my bread.
you can make, if you're an avid bread maker, it adds a nice tang to your bread.
Oh.
It doesn't have any protein left in it because all the protein's in the milk, like in the yogurt, but it has nutrients still.
Okay.
So this is almost up to pressure. The pin has come up and it's making noise, but it'll start counting in a minute. We're almost done with our eggs.
So how long do they have to stay on warm before they're,
So I'm gonna give them 12 to 15 minutes.
okay, and is that just letting the pressure come down?
Yeah, and it's still like carryover cooking time because it's still really hot in there. Like even after you quick release like a soup, I mean it's boiling when you take the lid off. So it just is kind of with the eggs, it's finishing the cooking.
Are you supposed to depressurize it?
So when I do hard-boiled eggs, I don't. Like I let it do a natural release for 15 minutes. So cook for 3, natural release for 15. So the pin just fell, which means that the lid is loose now. But we're gonna let them sit for a few more minutes and then rest.
So I made the mac and cheese, it spilled everywhere.
Oh.
Oh, I meant, oh, I didn't bring my thing. I'll figure it out. So when you do a quick release, especially on something with a lot of liquid, it will spew. So you either sometimes I'll throw like a little kid cup over the top, or I throw like a rag over the top and let like the towel absorb all the stuff.
So it doesn't necessarily mean I did it wrong.
No, you didn't do it wrong.
Is mine working?
Yeah, yours has mac and cheese in it.
So when I
Just
did
it's
water,
easier. It has to be.
When you did a what?
when I did water for the
Oh.
other night.
But was it?
Is that
did
what you did it?
But did you bring it like up to total pressure, or were you just heating it?
Yeah, we put it on for 30.
And then you did a quick release,
Uh-huh.
and it didn't spew water everywhere?
It didn't. Because I tried to take the lid off and it wouldn't come off. I was like, how the heck do I get this going? So I accidentally put it out and it started shooting. And I'm like, oh yeah, the steam thing. So I pushed it over and it just,
Well,
it made the noise for quite a while, like a couple
that's
minutes.
nice.
But I was like, I think I'm breaking it.
No, it can take some time to come back down. So here we are at 4 minutes for mac and cheese.
Yeah, that was the next.
So for
thing.
the mac and cheese, if you let it depressurize on its own, how long does that take?
The thing is with the mac and cheese, you don't want to let it depressurize on its own because then you're going to overcook your noodles. Yeah. So you want to do a quick release. You just maybe don't want to make a mess all over your kitchen.
I don't, and I did.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I say if you throw a towel over it, or if you put like a little cup or something over it to contain the mess, then it will still. Because that's what I did with my soup tonight. I made lentil soup for dinner, and so I just like threw a towel over it because I knew it was going to make a mess.
How long did that cook the lentil soup?
3 minutes. Yeah. I mean that's cook time, and then
We all like can't help but smile at that.
It just feels like a lie. It just.
Wow. Whose is that?
So from the time you dump everything in for your lentil soup and hit the go button, how long before you can serve it on your, or like before it's done and then when you serve it?
I'd say give it like 10 or 15 minutes.
Is that it?
Yeah.
To let it go up, cook, and come back down?
That one you actually do a quick release on, so.
You were right, like this will save my life.
I know, everyone should have an Instant Pot.
I was
Like,
thinking if I don't put it in the crock pot in the morning, I'm like, well, we're having pizza for dinner, or we're just, you can have cereal and sandwiches, but like,
Yeah.
if I can crock pot in less time.
Or cereal. That's fast.
yeah, so like I chopped and sauteed my veggies, and then I put in like my spices and my lentils and my broth and stick it in and boom, boom, boom.
So that one you didn't have to do 2 things? You didn't have to let it come up and then open it? And then
No, so that one it came to pressure, it cooked, I quick released it, I took the lid off, I stirred in my chopped ham, I put the lid back on because my husband wasn't home yet, and it just sat and waited till we were ready to eat it. But it was done.
Cool.
And it had red lentils, green lentils, carrots, celery, and then like chunks of potato in it. So the potato was pre-even cooked. I've done mashed potatoes in my Instant Pot,
Uh-huh.
just because then I don't have to pay attention to it. Like,
So how do you do mashed potatoes in your Instant Pot?
so those, yeah, just water, potatoes, some salt. I don't know that recipe by heart because I haven't done them salted. And you just cook them, and then you drain them.
So like whole potatoes?
You can do whole potatoes, but for those I like peel and cut them up.
Okay.
And
so
I think the
then-
cook time was like 8 minutes. But again, it
You
starts to
just
come up
mash
to
them
pressure.
afterwards.
Yeah, and then you just mash them. I mean, you can do whole potatoes and just like steam them.
Sure.
Because I do sweet potatoes that way. You have like
It's so
3 or 4
frozen,
in there.
it'll take longer.
Yeah, it's gonna take longer when it's frozen.
That's why then it was me. I was like, this makes me forget. I just put a bunch of frozen chicken.
Did you? And you have to have at least a cup of liquid.
That was my other mistake. It wouldn't get to pressure, and I was like, Sticky, this looks dumb. Like, did you put water in it? No. Was I supposed to? And then it worked. Just fine.
It's gotta get hot. Okay, so we're gonna pull our eggs out. Let go. Sometimes it doesn't want to let go. And you'll get a bunch of steam in your lid, and I just always put it over the sink. So, and then you just want to stick them in an ice bath, and they're probably hot. So, look, I have an ice bath.
I missed it. Is there water in there with the eggs?
Yeah, a cup of water, and then they're on the trivet so that they're not sitting on the bottom because you don't want them like having hot spots because you're steaming them. Then we'll turn it off. Okay, we are going to make a mess. So, you're gonna turn it to venting.
I didn't know.
I don't have a cloth, sorry. I never did that.
serious pressure.
I'll clean up when we're done.
So I have heard that some people have burned themselves. Is this where they likely burn
This
themselves?
would be where you burn yourself. I mean, that's boiling hot steam coming out of there, so yes, you should be careful.
I always forget not to touch the lid.
Yes, also this metal part up here gets super hot. Just don't touch the lid while it's cooking or after. It says do not touch, but yeah, that gets hot. Because I mean, there's nothing like it's, you know.
Not insulated or anything
Yeah.
for your hand.
So is that what the plastic is around the edges? Is that insulated then?
Yeah, so the plastic doesn't get hot, but the metal gets hot. Don't touch the metal. Yeah. And that's it. Okay, you probably shouldn't do this. Maybe I shouldn't tell you. I'm not going to tell you. But so it's not done, but you can see definitely pressure is coming in, like the lid's loose. But it's not done yet.
Okay, so remind me what you put in there so far. You have 4 cups of water.
So we have water, salt, butter. Oh, see, this is where the other little thing comes in handy. Because see, then it would catch the mess. That's
Yeah, I lost
in
that.
there.
It's not forever.
We're on waiting for a minute.
It's still it may still be in California.
There we go. That's what it's for. Okay, so we're also now, we're going to turn it off, and then we're going to turn it to saute, just because we want it to stay hot a little longer. So, we have, I don't know if this is going to work, noodles and some liquid. I don't even know if you can see. So, we're going to stir it up. The noodles kind of all get, well, that's hot, stuck together. That's okay. Break them up. You pour in a cup of cream.
This is the good macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The only downside is you make this once and your family doesn't want the cheap stuff anymore.
And then you put in 2 cups of shredded cheese. And you stir it around.
They're making the macaroni and cheese, they're doing all of them. The girl scouts and the kids and
And once the cheese is melted, it's done.
Oh,
Like that's it. That's it.
That's as easy as craft, honestly. You threw in the milk, you threw in the cheese, and you stirred it over.
Yeah. When it first comes out, I mean, it is a little bit on the runny side, but it will thicken up as it sits. Or sometimes I cook mine for 5 minutes instead of 4 minutes, and I find it's less runny.
oh, cause it uses
Absorbs more water.
But
Okay.
you don't have to make a white sauce, like. And dinner's on the table. This seriously, 10 minutes start to finish mac and cheese. Like, bam.
Love it. And you didn't stir it or strain it or
Nope.
anything.
Nope. And it's all done in one pot, and you don't have have to even get your colander dirty.
I did it. I said, I'm gonna do the mac and cheese, and I texted her, I was like, I just feel stupid for not doing that sooner. So like, that was it. It's done.
That's it.
It
And
needs
it's
no
done.
time.
And
And the kids all ate it. All of them. Nice.
That's
cool.
Those are the recipes you keep.
yes, yes.
They all ate.
Travis tells me it's like the best mac and cheese, and coming from him, that's saying a lot. So,
The mac and cheese connoisseur.
yes. Oh, we have to break an egg.
What's better than like?
We have to show you the magic of the hard-boiled egg.
Like mac and cheese, for example. Just
That's my family's dinner for tomorrow.
you can ask Darcy what it is. You're probably done. Did you brush your teeth there?
So we're gonna peel the egg. Can you see my egg peeling?
You needed a brown egg for this, Tiffany, so you can tell the difference.
You didn't bring me any eggs.
I know, I actually picked up 24 today from my mom, and I totally forgot to bring them.
Okay, my mom has done, she told me, she does a dozen fresh eggs like all summer long from her neighbor, and they peel just as well. And then, whoop, all cooked.
Oh, nice.
She could have a hard-boiled egg.
So you don't end up with that green ring from
No green
overcooking it.
ring, cooked all the way
That makes
through.
sense.
Beautiful hard-boiled egg. Mm.
Wow.
And you? I'm gonna eat it.
Yeah.
But,
Did you use all your salt for your mac and cheese?
I did.
Oh, darn. That's okay.
So that is all I have, unless there are questions. Did I cover everything?
So all those recipes that you see on Pinterest, for the Instagram,
Mhm.
those are like for real.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with any recipe you find on Pinterest, like use your discretion. I mean, not every recipe is created equal or worth making or eating, in my opinion.
Right. Well, my daughter, after I got mine and cooked my beans, she was like, Mom, there's recipes all over Pinterest, so she sent me a Pinterest Instapot.
I mean, there's a million out there.
And yeah, there's tons. I went, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah. So often I try to use mine at least a couple times a week just because there's some days like I just need it done that way. You know, and then I'll go looking for something specific because if you just go like Instant Pot recipe, yeah, there's a million.
Yeah.
The only thing I went across I really didn't like because you can do like orange chicken, like Chinese orange chicken, like in the oven where you like do the egg white and the egg and the cornstarch and you like fry it and then like stovetop. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And then you bake it in the oven for like an hour and then it's all crispy, yummy, whatever. Something similar, you can do it in the Instant Pot. However, the texture is not, it's not crispy at all. Like it's just then like, it has the coating, but then it's just gummy and you're like, it's not, that's like nasty Chinese food. So I don't recommend doing that.
Okay.
There's other tricks you can do, like if you do like barbecue chicken, but maybe say you still like it to have some texture, you can always then like stick it under the broiler if you want to like crisp it up a little bit.
Okay.
If you like, my kids really like crispy mac and cheese, like I'll do one where I bake it and it has like breadcrumbs on top.
Mhm.
So that you can always do like toast some breadcrumbs and some butter, olive oil in a pan, and then they can like sprinkle breadcrumbs on top.
That's what I wondered with your meats, if they get a little
Mm.
bit like liquidy. I mean,
Like
I'm
rubber.
trying to- yeah, I don't know.
Get what?
I use it to like to make shredded chicken if I need to do that.
Yeah.
I've done that. It's really nice.
There's a pretty popular recipe that it's like for chicken tacos, it's chicken, corn, salsa, a can of beans or whatever, and you just cook it all together.
Yeah.
If you're doing frozen chicken, it will be like, you're gonna have more liquid released than if you're doing fresh.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So,
That makes sense.
yeah. But it just kind of depends on what you're, like if you just want chicken to shred, it doesn't really matter. If you're trying to have like a good like meat to sauce ratio, then you might care.
Okay.
So,
Makes sense.
but
Okay.
anyhow,